Yeah. So, hi, Fiaz. Nice to see you. So, you did tell me you're struggling a little bit with some things at the moment, and that you wanted to work through. Can you just tell us a bit more about the issues on your plate at the moment?
Yeah, I'm really loving running and exercising, but I just feel, I can get an hour at lunchtime, which is great. But I feel once I've run and that, it just feels as if I need to be back at work because sometimes I can do an hour and a half and that's okay. And I feel quite guilty in that, gosh, I should just do half an hour because I can get my day and, I can concentrate a bit more, which I'm great afterwards. I just can't get the two right. So when I've been for a run, I feel great, but then I feel guilty because, oh gosh, I should have actually worked just, not taken off an hour and a half or an hour, but actually just half an hour because that's what I need to do. And also family time as well. Because sometimes if I can't do that, end of the day, I'll just go for a 2-hour run. But then I feel guilty that I'm not spending time with the family.
Got you. Okay. So, if I've heard you right, you recognise the benefits for your running and you really enjoy it, but you're feeling a bit of a guilt that it takes you away from work and takes you away from family time. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And if this was really, you got the right outcome here, what would be happening? What would you be doing that would be working for you?
Um, Working a bit less and not worrying, not feeling guilty about work because I still manage to do the work.
Okay, cool. So you'd be doing your running with a sort of guilt-free running, really.
Yeah, but it's just that something I've built up that I want to, there's that dilemma.
Yes, I can hear that. Yeah. So if you think about, in this sort of safe space, the guilt of running and taking away from work and family life, is that a fair and sort of true reflection on your situation, do you think? And are there reasons for that?
I feel well, actually, it's a fair reflection. I do feel guilty, but then also the flip side of it is I feel great when I do it. So there is the guilt of, but actually I feel great. And also it's good for my health and my family supports it. And I know once I've run, I feel I'm better at work and better performing and focused. But I do feel as if I've taken that time off. I shouldn't be doing that.
Okay, so I can see the dilemma for you. So, but when you step back and think about it, is that guilt fair and warranted, do you think? Should you be spending less time running and working, or more time with your family and less time running, or is that not really a sort of true reflection of what's right for you?
I think it's something I've made up in my head because I don't think it's a true, I don't, like I said, work's fine and then family is actually fine. It's something that I've just created that I can't let go.
Okay.
I'll be running and then I'll be like, right, you need to be home now. Or actually, and it just builds up.
Gotcha.
So even though I'm out running and I'm okay, I then suddenly feel guilty and just, feel like, oh no, I shouldn't do that.
So I hear what you're saying. So when you think about it, it's not really true that you shouldn't really feel guilty about running because it's an important thing for you, and actually it isn't really getting in the way of your family life or your work when you step back and think about it. Have I got that right?
Yeah, you have actually got it spot on there. Yeah.
Okay. So with that realization then that perhaps you don't need to feel guilty about running and its effect on work and your family life, what would you do next now in thinking about, increasing your running?
It's trying to, yeah, it's a tough one because I know no matter what happens, I'll still feel that way. And I'd love to learn and find a way to let go of that guilt.
Okay.
I'd love, yeah, and then, it's great. It just happens, comes over me, and I'm just like, oh, right, I need to get back.
Fine. You'd need to find a way to get over that guilt.
Yeah. And then I'm struggling in my head because it's all in my head.
Yeah. No, I can see that. And have you got any thoughts about how you might go about that?
Actually, this is helping, talking about it as well and just finding, to get it out. Because obviously, talk to the family, they're fine. Work's absolutely fine. My managers and that they're all good. And I'm trying to find out what guilt is attached to that. And I guess the guilt is maybe in both ways. I feel as if I'm not being there when I'm out running or when I'm not with my family that I should be there. And that's the struggle.
I hear what you're saying. And again, perhaps I can challenge that. Is that, do you think that's fair then? That you should feel guilty about not being there? Is that, fair and true for you? Or again, is that something that when you think about it isn't really, fair for you?
I think you're probably right. Yeah. Is it rational? I don't think it's irrational. I don't think it is fair.
No. So it's not really true and fair for you, really, that you should feel guilty?
Not really, but I think it triggers some things, and I don't know what that is.
Triggers
It
something.
triggers a guilt. Yeah.
And does that serve a purpose for you, do you think, or not really?
Yeah, maybe, without me getting too deep. I think, because my father wasn't around, he was in the Navy and all that. And, this is not work, but family. I just want to be around for my family. And I think it's an ingrained long-term thing.
Yeah, sure. Okay. No, I hear what you're saying. So, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it, when someone's challenging you, but actually, when you have the opportunity in a safe space to think about it, are there things you can think of that you could start to focus on to address this that might be helpful for you and more useful?
Yeah, and actually, one of the things that might help, that keeps coming to my head, is just checking in with the family and checking in with my colleagues at work and saying, I'm going for a run, because sometimes I just go, I know what time it is, and maybe that's you've just touched on something there. Actually, that would be really helpful. So rather than think about it, I think what would really help is, before I went, it's just letting my co-workers know, and my family, that actually I'm going for an hour run. Is that okay? That's actually that wouldn't make me feel guilty, because they've acknowledged it and accepted. Actually, that would be, that actually unlocks something I didn't think about.
Okay, lovely. So that's an idea that might help deal with this guilt. Have you got any other ideas?
Actually, maybe rehearsing a few words or sentences, saying, actually, it is okay. You don't need to carry that, what you feel guilty without your father not being around in the Navy. No, you're not that person. That could really help, because I think that's a much deeper ingrained.
Got you. Yeah. So acknowledging that trigger can be really helpful, and giving yourself permission, I guess, to let that go. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's a deeper one.
Yeah. Got you.